Hello, friends. It's nice to see you again. It is I, your art teacher, Miss Claire. Today we are going to be making some cloud artworks. Now, I am sure that you have seen some really good cloud shapes. Since it's springtime and our weather has been changing a lot, I've been outside and 1 minute it's blue skies and then it's cloudy and then it's storming, and there's always so many different changes happening in the sky. So if you have time today, you might see what you see if you go outside and spend a little bit of time looking at the sky. You also might notice that there are many different types of clouds. Sometimes when you look in the sky, you see all sorts of different shapes in the clouds. Maybe some remind you of things that you have seen in real life. Maybe a cloud looks like a dog. Or maybe you think, man, that cloud looks very different than that cloud. So there are a few different kinds of clouds. We're only going to talk about 2 today. But we are going to make some artwork inspired by those 2 types of clouds. So, Daisy's just in here. She just loves to hear about clouds. Our materials we'll need today. I have a blue piece of paper for my sky. Now, if you do not have blue paper, that's okay. Maybe you have white paper and you could use a blue crayon to give it some blue. Or maybe if you have some other colored paper, this is just construction paper. If you have some other colored paper, you might just think, this is the sky in a different planet. Maybe I have a green sky with clouds on it. That's okay. Remember that you are the artist, and so you get to make the choices, especially if you don't have the blue paper. So, I happen to have a piece of blue construction paper. Now, we're also going to need some cotton balls. We don't need very many. I actually don't have very many, so that's good. We only need a couple to start with. So, I'm going to pull out 3, and we'll see if I need more. Now, paper, cotton balls, and glue. So, if you have a glue stick, that will work. Or if you have liquid white glue, that will also work. We're all working with what we have at home. So, if you don't have either of these things, I bet you can figure out something else to use instead. All right, so those are our materials. Pretty simple materials today. Now, the 2 types of clouds I want to talk about are cirrus and cumulus. Now, I know these are kind of big words, and there are many more types of clouds, but I just wanted to talk about 2 clouds that are pretty different from each other. So, cirrus clouds, and I will be showing you right here. This is a cirrus cloud. Now, cirrus clouds are wispy and thin, and to remember this, we might think about cirrus. So to me, it almost sounds like the word is trailing away, it's slithering away, cirrus. So maybe if we remember that it's slithering away, we can remember that it's sort of thin and wispy, almost like a cobweb in the sky. So that's one kind, cirrus. Now, the other kind of cloud that we're going to be thinking about is cumulus. And cumulus is much more puffy and rounded, kind of what we think of as normal looking clouds. Now, how can we remember it being different than the cirrus sliding away? I'm thinking cumulus almost seems like round balls of words. So I'm going to try to remember them that way. So cumulus is cumulus. It's sort of round and puffy. And the other kind of clouds, if you remember, is cirrus. Cirrus. So it's kind of slithering away. And if you can't remember those, that's okay. I'm just trying to figure out ways to help me remember things. Because sometimes it's hard. They both begin with the letter C, and there are many types of clouds. And you might already know more types of clouds than that. But we're just going to think about the different shapes that they are today. All right, now a cotton ball. So because we talked about the 2 different shapes for each of those clouds, I want us to work on making them on our sky paper. So cotton balls are kind of puffy and, they're made of fabric that's kind of squished together, but we can pull them apart a little bit. So to make our cirrus sort of wispy, slithering through the sky clouds, we can kind of pull it apart a little bit. So we could make, look at that nice wispy cotton ball I just got. It's perfect for cirrus clouds, just slithering away. So here is the beginning of my cirrus cloud. Wow, I'm really happy with that. Okay. Now that I have made that, I am going to stick it on my paper. So white glue I could use, but I'm also going to try to use a glue stick. And so, oh, my glue stick's actually almost out, but I'll just stick it in there. So sometimes when we use glue sticks, I know we think we should use a lot of glue. Like it'll work better if we use a lot of glue. But actually, it's how we push it onto the paper that makes it stay. We would call that pressure. So I'm going to kind of push my cotton into this. Whoops, not the best situation. And I'm going to dig out a little bit of my glue. You probably have a glue stick that has a little bit more glue in it. And then I can put it on my paper. I can really push it. I probably don't have to push it quite so hard, but it's the pressure, not the amount of glue, that helps it stick on our paper. All right. I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. I'm actually going to go back to white glue because I think I just don't have a lot in this glue stick. Okay. And the same goes for white glue. I don't need very much, just a little. I just need to stick together because it's more about the pressure than the quantity, than the amount. So I'm just putting, I don't know if you can see, I'm just putting a couple little dots. Here, I'll show you before I stick this one on fully. I only have 3 dots of glue here. Also because I want my clouds to stick up off the paper a little bit. Clouds are 3-dimensional objects in the sky. They might look flat to us, but if we were up in the clouds, they would be all around us. They wouldn't be flat like paper. So here's my first cirrus cloud. Now you can see it's kind of puffed up off my paper, which is pretty cool. We're almost doing a paper artwork, but it's also 3-dimensional, like a sculpture. So I am going to make some more cirrus clouds. Cirrus, because that means wispy. And this takes a little bit of practice. So I encourage you to practice sort of pulling apart your cotton balls until you get something that you're happy with. And it might be a little frustrating at first. It takes a little bit of practice. And you might find that you pull it too far, and that's okay. You could try again. Just trying to pull mine apart, get it really, really wispy, because it's my cirrus clouds. Okay. So we're going to make artwork focusing on the 2 types of clouds, but I have only done cirrus so far. So I'm going to move on to, do you remember what our other clouds are called? Cumulus. And I'm doing this because it makes me think that they're circular. So they are more of a puffy shape. So I might just pull this a little bit, but not very much, not like a cirrus cloud, because cumulus clouds are big and puffy and fluffy clouds. So I'm going to give it a little bit of air in there. And the way that I'm pulling mine, I'm just sort of gently pulling. I don't want to go, because then I'll kind of rip it all apart. But I want to be pretty gentle. So that's how I just made my cotton ball a little bigger. So this is what it was before. This is it now. So I made it a little bit bigger. And now, I think for my picture, I'm going to keep cirrus on this side and cumulus on this side. But you could mix them however you want your sky to look. Do you see how much glue I put? Not very much. For this, that's a pretty good amount, because I want my clouds to still be able to kind of puff up off the paper. Now this one's really puffing off. Look at that, 3D cloud. Okay. Now I'm going to keep working and adding a little bit more. Oh my gosh, look at this tiny little cirrus cloud I just pulled off. Now to pull off the cirrus clouds, look, it almost looks like it's moving. It's through the sky. So I'm using very little of my cotton balls to make my cirrus clouds because they're so wispy. Cirrus. But I'm really happy with my cirrus. Sometimes when I see cirrus clouds, they make me think of cotton candy. They're sort of wispy and you can pull the threads. Because cumulus clouds are more like a marshmallow. In my mind, they're more marshmallowy, but cirrus clouds are sort of like cotton candy that you're pulling apart. Oh, you know what else I might do? I might have my cirrus clouds going off the paper. That might be neat. Pretty cool. bet some of you know a lot about clouds because there are many different kinds, and also there are different kinds based on how high up they are. So we know clouds seem pretty close, but they're actually pretty high above us. They're much taller than our trees. And some of them are very, very, very tall, and some of them are actually sort of close, but they're still pretty far. Have you ever been in an airplane? I bet if you've been in an airplane, you've been in the clouds, and that is such a funny experience. It seems so different and unusual than being on the ground. Now, I just put some glue on my cotton ball, or on my cloud, but I think it's better to put it on the paper. I think it's probably safer for our project. What's also interesting is we're using white cotton balls for clouds, but sometimes clouds aren't white. Can you think of another color that a cloud might be? Or another time when it might be a different color? I'm thinking about sunset or sunrise when there are many colors in the clouds. And the color is more of a reflection than it is the cloud changing color, but it looks like such a different color. So if we look at sunset, can you think of some of the colors you've seen in clouds at sunset? When I think about sunset and clouds, I think about it being, oranges and pinks and sometimes some purples. Can you think of any other time that a cloud would be a different color other than white? What about a storm? When there's a storm, I feel like sometimes clouds get much darker. Sometimes when clouds get dark, it makes us think there's a storm. So the clouds are telling us that they are going to rain soon when they start to turn dark. Just earlier today, it was pretty sunny, and then in the distance there were these dark gray clouds, and then they came in and they rained a little bit, and then they left, and then the sky was back to being blue with some clouds. All right, so I have quite a few of this kind of cloud. Do you remember what it's called? Cirrus wispy. And I only have one of these, so I'm going to add more. Do you remember what the puffy clouds are called? Cumulus. Cumulus. I'm using a funny voice with that one. It helps me remember it's puffy. Cumulus. So I'm using a different voice and a different way of saying the word cumulus to help myself remember. If it helps you, maybe it's a cool way to remember. Okay, so I'm pulling this one out a little bit to be a cumulus cloud, but I don't want to pull it out as much as cirrus because this is the other kind of cloud. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Now, I have used only 3 cotton balls so far. This is 3 cotton balls. So I might get a couple more for my cumulus clouds, the puffier ones. Just because they need to be bigger. Oh my goodness. So I just sort of pulled this gently. And again, this might take a little bit of practice. You might not get it the first time, and that's okay. We're just learning together. So we want to just pull that out a little bit. I'll show you another one that I'm doing to turn it into a cumulus cloud. All right, and your cotton balls might be a different size, and that's okay. They're all different sizes of cotton balls. So this is my regular cotton ball. I'm kind of taking one side with one hand, one side with the other, and I am gently sort of pulling it, twisting it, kind of pulling it apart. Just really, really gently, though. We want to be really gentle. Oh my gosh, I think we're almost there. Got a pretty good puffy cloud. I'm pretty happy with that. All right. Gonna put that in my cumulus area. And remember, I'm not using very much glue because I think it's plenty to have just a little. See those 3 dots? That's for this whole cloud. Okay, now I'm going to use the rest of this for some of my cirrus clouds. Okay. Get a little bit more, so wispy. Okay. If you get a chance to go outside today or tomorrow, I want you to look at the clouds and see if you can spot different kinds or different shapes. See if you can see a cumulus cloud or a cirrus cloud. See if you can see either of those. And there are other kinds of clouds to spot too. If you know any of those, I want you to be on the lookout for them too. Maybe it's going to be a totally clear day and you might see no clouds. It might just be a blue sky. It's pretty neat that our weather changes and we get to see all sorts of different things all the time. I think that's a really cool part of the seasons and the weather. So it's always changing. All right. Now you can add as many clouds as you want. I think I'm pretty done with mine. I feel pretty good about this. I've got my cirrus clouds up here and my cumulus clouds down here. Oops, here. So that is our project for today. I hope that you have had a good time making cloud pictures with me. I'm so glad to see all of you again, and I can't wait to see you again in the classroom. I hope that you are having a wonderful day and you are safe and healthy with your families. Until next time.